Microsoft 365, also formerly known as Office 365, is a subscription to various Microsoft products and services. All of these services are tied together with something we call a Microsoft account. These services can include access to Word and Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, or Microsoft Publisher, and will generally include access to email, Microsoft Teams, cloud storage for storing documents that we collaborate with others with, or even signing into your computer, although exact features can vary by your license. Now, to be clear, we need to make a distinction between what we call a work Microsoft account and a personal Microsoft account. A work account is managed by your IT, and you will generally have a username that looks something like maybe your name at companyname.com, .org, or something to that effect. And a work account will offer a variety of extra collaborative features designed for work. A personal Microsoft account, on the other hand, you may already have. They're created by you for Microsoft services. Your username, if you have a personal account, will generally end in @outlook.com, although it is possible that they end in something like @live.com or @live.ca or @hotmail.com even. Those accounts are Microsoft personal accounts, and they provide access to a personal email address that is yours still. But they also provide access to a variety of other services. You do not need to use Microsoft's email to use a Microsoft personal account, for example. So you may even sign in to a personal Microsoft account with something like an @gmail.com email, if you're not using Microsoft's email service. But a personal account will generally be used for Xbox services, signing into a personal computer, potentially, email, your own personal OneDrive that only you have access to for cloud storage, and personal versions of Word, Excel, and PowerPoint if you pay for additional licensing costs. A personal Microsoft account is free, but some of the services do have associated subscriptions. You can buy Microsoft 365 Personal, or even Microsoft 365 Family, for your personal accounts. However, because we want additional features, such as SharePoint and custom email addresses that have @yourcompanyname.com, things like Microsoft Teams and meeting software, we will be using a work Microsoft account. These accounts are managed by your IT, so you don't have to worry too much about them, but they are used for a variety of services that you might not realize are just the same account across the board. From now on, when I say Microsoft account, I will be referring to a work account. Both personal and work accounts these days can be used to sign into your computer. A personal computer that belongs to you, you will use a personal account, although a work computer may be set up to use something called Azure AD, which lets us sign directly into our computer using our work Microsoft account. Your organization may or may not be using this feature of Microsoft 365, but you can tell rather easily if it is. If you look at your lock screen, when you go to sign in, generally it will say username and it will show the user of whoever was last logged in. But if you see an option for Other User. If you click on that, and you see an option for putting in an email address, not a username, specifically an email address, and it says sign in to your work or school account. If that's the case, then anyone in your company can actually sign into this computer with their Microsoft account. Not all computers are set up to use this feature, whether they're company computers or not. So this may not be available. Signing into your computer may be a different account. However, by and large, all of our other services from Microsoft are always signed in through your Microsoft account. And we can access all of our services from one central place. That place being Office.com. It's your one-stop shop. Now, Microsoft is doing away with the Office branding a little bit, so you can access the identical website at Microsoft365.com. Same exact website, all the features still there. When you go to that website, we can see a number of things. Smack in the middle of the website will actually be a variety of recently used files, so you can hop back into whatever you were doing recently, although I don't personally use this very much. On the top right, from our profile icon, we can access our account settings, and we can go in here and change our password or our two-factor authentication settings, or a variety of other things. There are some quick settings available as well on the gear icon. It can be nice to switch between light mode for your web page or a dark mode, depending on your preference. On the left-hand side will be access to all of your services from Microsoft. You can go into web apps for your various different programs. You can get a web-based version of Outlook, so you can access your email. You can get a web-based version of Teams, or even of Word and Excel. You can see additional apps if you go to the top left and click on what we call the waffle icon. If you expand this out, you'll even be able to click on things like OneDrive or SharePoint to get to these other services. Now, these services oftentimes come in two versions, or sometimes more, and we have a web version of some programs and what we call a native version, or a desktop version. From Office.com, if we click on Word, it will give us a web version of Microsoft Word. Or if we click on Teams, it'll give us a web version of Teams right within our browser. Teams through the web browser directly, it's nice when you're in a pinch, when you're working on a computer you normally don't work on, but it won't give you the same level of notifications and calls when you're trying to talk to people. So in some cases, we tend to prefer to use the native app, so it's a different program and not running in your web browser. Some cases, though, you may wish to use the web app. For example, here in this picture, we have web apps and native versions of Microsoft Word. The web app will run in any web browser. You can go into Safari on your iPad and go to Office.com and use Microsoft Word right in the web browser there. Alternatively, even on your iPad, you can install Word directly from the App Store and get the native app experience. On a laptop or a desktop, you also have a native app, which is accessed, if you haven't had them installed, through this Install Apps button on Office.com. If it's a personal computer that you are maybe working from home, you should be able to install your apps using this button yourself. If you're on a work computer, you may need admin privileges, and you may need to contact your help desk. The native apps tend to offer some slightly richer feature sets. They tend to offer a bit better performance and just respond a little better. They are a little less laggy. But there are cases where we may want to use both. OneDrive is a really good example of where you might use both. You might use OneDrive, the native app, to save and open files on your computer, but you will use the OneDrive web app to help you share files to your coworkers. These apps come in a variety of different features. Ultimately, in the coming videos, we will go over the pros and cons of the different versions of these different apps and where to find these different features.